So when the current LARK Quartet hit upon this idea of commissioning a group of pieces for the 30th anniversary of the group, they passed around a set of possibilities to the different composers involved, and we were all asked to choose the one that looked most interesting to us. And I saw the opportunity to write a string octet for the current and founding members of the group, and that one just screamed at me, do this. And so I snatched that one up right away and started to think of the piece as an octet right from the start. So at about the same time I'd started to think about how the octet would work texturally, how I could use these two groups at once on stage, these two quartets. I was also reading quite a lot, several different books by the great feminist scholar of Islam and the Middle East, Fatema Mernissi. And in one book in particular, she talks at length about the veil and the hijab. One of the wonderful things about Mernissi was that she was both contemptuous and scornful of radical and fundamentalist Islam, but she was also deeply skeptical of the West and of the idea that the West should be able to tell women in the Middle East how they should behave and how they should dress. And so she positions herself between these two extremes. And when she writes about the veil and the hijab, she writes about it as something that is important culturally and that has an important role in the history of Islam, but that in fact is not required either in Islamic scripture or in Islamic practice. And she writes that, as is so often the case when women's lives are being decided by men, that she writes, quote, "The woman question always comes down to this ridiculous little piece of fabric," as she calls it, ce morceau de tissu. She was Moroccan originally and wrote often in French, and so the title of the piece comes from the original French. And I like that very much, this notion that this little piece of fabric could signify so much about how women are expected to live their lives by the rest of the world, and in particular by men.